Master Categories time. That's when we get to talk about the tokens we drew the week before, and that gives us our categories. We pick our topics based off of those categories. And Luke, I think you have a very special Master Category for us this week.
I do have a special Master Category. I have art and design, and it's special because I don't have to do it. We brought our friend Jerrod Maruyama along. Jerrod, say hello so people know you're listening. Hi.
Good to be here for the 700th time.
I know, man. It's so good that you are able to take time out of your crazy schedule to talk to us weirdos. So we're talking
Is your schedule crazy? We've never really talked about your schedule. We've just made a lot of assumptions.
I get up, I walk to my desk, and I stay there until about midnight, and then I go to bed.
See, that's crazy.
That actually sounds like a really relaxed schedule, if I'm being honest.
It's not bad. Yeah, for a crazy schedule, it's pretty chill.
Great.
So you have a duo show coming up. It's at Gallery 1988, right?
It is, yes.
And it is with Oh So Nerdy and you, and it is the So Cute show. So tell us a little bit about it.
So Gallery 1988 came to me and wanted me to do a solo show. And I said, oh, no way. That's terrifying. So they said they offered up a two-person show. And I thought, well, that's probably the best way for me to sort of ease into doing my first gallery show. So they matched us up. And I thought it was a good match because what Oh So Nerdy does is these little cross-stitch, little pop culture cross-stitch things with quotes and everything. Very different than what I do, but that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted someone that wasn't going to compete directly with what I was doing. So we kind of talked about doing themes and things like that, but I said, let's just each do what we do, and we'll cover some of the same subject matter, and then that'll be the show. Because I didn't want to, sometimes the too high concept and it gets in the way, or it kind of forces you to do stuff you wouldn't normally do. So we just wanted to kind of give the best of what we do.
Awesome.
And so just to be clear for people who are catching up to this, it's Oh So Nerdy, SEW. And so the show is called So Cute, SEW, as an amalgamation between what he does and what you do.
Now,
that's right.
So we talked about this show a bit before when we were in Orlando, and I may have... to be clear, your pieces are separate. You didn't design a piece that he then cross-stitched, right?
No. So we just decided we kind of came up with a list of properties we wanted to cover. It's always going to be pop culture when it's Gallery 1988. Right. So we just said, well, let's pick 5 that we're going to both do something from, and that's what kind of crosses over to both. Because otherwise it was going to be too, I don't know how we would have done that. Because his cross stitch is much more icon based, not so much character based.
Sure.
So,
I was going to say it's very small icons too, because I had it. I haven't looked at any of those nerdy stuff before just now, and I was looking through them, and it's very small, indicators. Icon is a great word, or a piece of clothing or something like that. It's not really the full character,
right? Exactly, with a little quote, a little pop culture quote or something, and very cute stuff, little affordable things. He did a ton of them, which is pretty amazing. How many he was able to knock up. But we started talking about this a year ago, literally a year ago. So we've been working on these ever since. I haven't really been working on it that long. I think I did 90% of it in December, but we've been talking about the show.
He's been working a long time.
But he had to start working that day because it's much. He doesn't have Control Z. He just has to throw it in the trash and start over if he messes up.
So each one of his is a one-of-a-kind piece, which I could do one image and then make prints.
Sure.
He's got to get a whole inventory of these little cross-stitch pieces. So it's quite a bit of work for him.
Did you tell him that yours was a lot of work too, so that way...
Of course.
Did you say mine was a lot of work in its own way?
Yes.
So can you talk to us about what we've been fortunate enough to see some of the pieces or all of the pieces that you've put out for the show, but not everything is being made public right now until the show releases. But what can people expect from the show other than the generic, pop culture stuff?
Right. So for this one, I decided to do kind of what I usually do. It's cute characters, but I've picking. I've taken some of the properties that I haven't done before, and I just wanted to do casts of characters. Yep. So I would take, say, like Jurassic Park, and I would do cute versions of the cast of Jurassic Park. And the Master of One hosts in a similar vein. So that's what I did. So I picked a bunch of properties that I've been wanting to do, and I just kind of vomited it all out for this show.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Do you have okay, looking through them, and I don't think I've asked you about this before, but from a glance, when you see your character, certainly they have and in fact, this is easy. I can just hold this up and give you an idea. Because look, here we go. This is a great representation of your work. It's my face. I'm also really bad at actually holding it up so the camera can see it. But it's not, well, to be clear, there are like two separate
It's so easy to correct. All you have to do is look at what the screen is showing you and just correct it.
The problem is the screen is backwards. And so I keep moving the opposite direction. But the point is you have typically the eyes are like small circles, simple lines. You have the kind of like gradient effect on all the layers. And so from a glance, it can feel very, very simplistic. But when I looked at your characters today, it really struck me how much you're able to capture like the essence of each one of these people and make them very recognizable, seemingly using very few simple shapes or in very little bits of detail. So how long does it take for you to get there with a character? If you're sitting down to work on somebody that you know is iconic and should be instantly recognizable, are there certain features that you focus on? I mean, you can't really say it's kind of the opposite of Edmiston. You can't say eyes because yours are just little circles. But what's the go-to features and how long does it take to get to that point where like you feel like you nailed it and you captured that?
It's different for each character. I will say you're right. That's exactly, I think, the challenge with what I do. The whole point of it is to look cute. And so you're trying to keep the elements simple enough so they read like, say, a Hello Kitty character or something like that. But you are trying to make it look recognizable. So if someone has a recognizable costume, say, that's much easier because you're relying mostly on the costume or the glasses or a hairstyle or something like that. It's easy to go too much of a caricature where it looks like those, like a Disneyland drawing where it's a big head on riding a horse or riding a skateboard or something like that. And you're trying to avoid that. Yeah.
Jet skis.
So you're trying to keep it within your style, but still recognizable. So that's the constant balance. So there's not a lot of elements and you're constantly moving these little elements, just a fraction of an inch because the eyes are too close or they're too far apart or that forehead's too big or things like that. So that's kind of the challenge of what I do. I don't know how long I could say it would really take. Like I'll do it. I'll finish a piece. I'll look back at it a week later and be like, that's garbage. Why was I pleased with this? And then I go back in and I adjust the nose or drop, the ears or things like that. So it's kind of an ongoing process. That's why I hate doing stuff really quickly and sending it off because I have regrets the moment I send that thing off.
And it sounds like you have to give yourself a little bit of time to maybe forget about it and then revisit it so it's fresh again. I did notice on a couple that I see you start putting in like maybe some wrinkles or some forehead marks or things like that, adding small spots of detail in order to, I'm guessing, to bring that, make it recognizable. Whereas most of the characters, again, are just the beyond the gradient. It's just the kind of bare shape. So it's still very impressive.
It's difficult because sometimes you sketch these things out, but when you're doing kind of this iconic work, it'd be like if you did a logo. When you sketch a logo and then you bring that logo and do it in Illustrator, something happens there. It changes, right? There's an energy to the sketch that gets lost once you go to Illustrator. And so you're trying to sort of make up for that. So a lot of the work I just do directly in Illustrator and just start playing with the elements as soon as I can. It never starts out, or it never finishes the way it starts out. It always goes on some crazy journey.
Okay, so I'm going to ask... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm always so amazed ever since that morning that we were sitting at Disney in the morning, like we were still waiting for the Earl of Sandwich to open. We're sitting outside
eat breakfast,
and I found out that you use a mouse only.
Yes,
like
still.
I look at this and I think, how? Yeah, there it is. Because it's not fair. I guess that's all. I guess that's. I don't have a question. It's just that. Cool for you.
I do not get how people transition to the stylus with Illustrator though. Like I could see for Photoshop and where you're being very gestural and things like that. But Illustrator, it's like gestural. Yes, it's like using tools or something. Like you don't get that same feeling. At least I didn't develop it when I was developing my
but
my
the
Illustrator
smoothness
habits
of like your transitions and I do all of my stuff in Illustrator and I use a trackpad or whatever, but the smoothness that you can get your curves without having like those weird janky edges, I don't know how that works. And you don't have to explain it right now. I know it's tricks of the tools of the trade.
What you do is you get a small circular object like this, and you put your mouse against it, and then you just it's right there.
Mouse trace.
I don't. Something tells me that's not right, but
that's not how the force works.
I love the idea of putting something round down and moving your mouse all the way around it, and while holding the button
you're just
down.
holding the button down and then just dragging it through like a jig.
Yes, or you use the circle tool, whichever works best.
That's an idea.
I would love for you to set up a camera of just a top-down camera of you doing that, where you're holding with one finger and you're tracing around it with the other.
I should do a whole garbage joke Skillshare class.
Yes,
where people are just baffled by what I'm doing.
I know, and then you just click and you say, "I've already taken the time to go through this. I don't want to go through and do all this, but here's how it ends up finishing." And then it's like one of your finished pieces.
You just have to throw in and all the top professionals do it this
People
way.
would lose their minds.
Everyone's just feverishly taking notes.
All right, so we've seen everything that you've sent us anyway.
Right.
And so what? I'll say the one that I like the most, just because it's a underrepresented property right now. I feel like. And then we can hear from Andrew and Patrick of what they think.
Very good.
Edit any of these out.
Yes.
What? What did you say, Patrick?
I said, and edit any of these out because he's not releasing them all yet, like announcing them.
Well, we are able to.
No. That's fine.
You can, right?
Yeah.
So the one that I instantly saw and loved was the Stand By Me one. I feel like it's so good. And I love that movie. I mean, it's just so classic. And it's so good.
That's great. That was, whenever you do these things, you kind of wonder about what people are going to respond to or what's going to sell. So that one, I love to do it. I was happy to be able to do it. I wasn't sure what the response will be. So I'm glad. I'm encouraged by Luke's pick.
I mean, there's one obvious one that I really like.
There you go.
But you know what that is, so.
Right, sure.
Tom Petty.
Yeah,
that's right.
The Tom Petty
and
one.
the Heartbreakers. All the Heartbreakers. There's like 40 Heartbreakers.
Every single of the Heartbreakers.
Andrew, what was your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
So my favorite, I already told Jerrod off air. I think I could say this, right? Like I can say the prop.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my favorite is the Golden Girls. And there's another one that you did that's so good. Like they're all great, but there's the other one that you did that's so good is what I would consider like a not a collage, but like a I don't know. There's two of them that you did that I feel like there's a lot of characters kind of listed. They're not in a scene, but they're kind of like listed. Kind of drawn out in a panel. And lots of characters represented from one of my favorite shows, and some of my favorite bits from that. And then
you can say that one. We've already previewed some stuff from that one.
Okay,
if you want
cool.
To talk
okay,
about
so the SNL poster is incredible, and then there's another one with some of my favorite video game characters.
Fantastic. The SNL one was like narrowing it down to recognizable characters and things that weren't like the guest star or specifically I tried to avoid people's impersonations of celebrities.
Sure.
So I wanted to do
original
pure characters. Yeah. So that was tough but fun. I've been wanting to do that for a while too.
It's so good. Like I want to discuss every single one of these characters, but I love that there's a couple of actors who are represented a couple of times on the poster.
Yeah.
But it's rightfully so because they played so many pivotal characters to the history of SNL that to pick one over the other wouldn't make sense. So you included a couple for some of them, and I just want to own every piece in this show. Patrick, what's yours?
Yeah, my favorite piece is actually the SNL piece as a whole. There are some individual characters and other pieces that I love and really stood out to me, and that's kind of what initially sparked the thought of like, how in the hell do you get these likenesses so close? I mean, it's bizarre to me. I will say that you did the cast of West Wing, which I think was a bold move. Definitely, in our space, it's a bit more serious than most of the other properties, but I did really love that one.
You know what sucks? You said that, and I was like, oh, how did I miss that? I was so excited for it. Because I was contemplating the other day, like, hey, maybe I should go back and rewatch West Wing and watch it. That's a great show. And so when you said that, I started flipping through the thumbnails again, and about halfway down, I realized, oh, I'm an idiot.
I was just hoping Jerrod would have a moment of, wait, did I do the cast of West Wing?
Yeah, hold on.
That's a great idea. I wonder if I can get Mark to print one before next week.
SNL is my favorite, I think.
So something like the West Wing, that would be like a terrifying job. Like if they came to me and said, oh, do the whole cast for us. Like, a great show, great characters, but so little to go on there. Just be people in suits and pantsuits and, you can't have them walking around and talking in a print. So it'd be difficult.
At the risk of sounding like over complimentary, which I err on that side anyway.
Go right ahead. Yes.
Love
I know
to hear
you
it.
said like if there's like a costume that makes it easier for you, you can take away the bottom half of all of these illustrations and I still would be able to identify. So don't undercut your ability to create a likeness even without the clothing, because I think you could totally do Martin Sheen. You could do a Martin Sheen bust just of his head like you did with us. That rhymed. I didn't mean for it to, but that's fine.
Very good.
And you'd be able to know it was Martin Sheen. Like you would know.
That's very nice. It's funny that because you're sitting here by yourself doing these things. Like when I just recently did a Guillermo del Toro caricature after the Oscars.
I love that so much.
And like that thing, I did that thing over and over and over again. I kept looking at it. I kept changing things, and you're kind of trying to rush to get it out to sort of catch the moment.
The wave,
but you really don't have anybody here to bounce it off of. And once you post it, you can't take it back down and say, "Oh, I moved the eye over an inch."
Right.
So that's why certain characters terrify me at the thought of having to. That's why I hate doing personal commissions. When people say, draw my boyfriend or my cousin or something like that, that's rough. Yeah, luckily you guys look like cartoon characters.
It's true.
Admittedly, mine is the most generic, but it's fine.
Yeah, don't anybody ask him to do this.
Unless you look as weird as this, don't ask.
So, do you have a character you want to do you haven't done?
I'm sure there is. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Sometimes like the go-to things aren't the like some people would say, well, do like Batman. For some reason, Batman characters, because they're so cartoony, it's hard to caricature that without it just looking like, there you go. Something like that's better. So I don't know. There's some that just like, I don't even love the property, but I look at their face and I'd be like, oh, they need to draw that.
Yeah.
I do love the juxtaposition whenever you take a very serious character and put it with your style, because your style it's cute and fun and whatever. So I would love to see you just really dive into some really dramatic shows.
Like a series of serial killers.
That's the better. Like, so doing this show, when we did the video game characters, doing Pikachu was just about impossible. I'm like, what? How do you cutify that? It's almost like you have to go the other way and make him terrifying.
Like
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's always the challenge.
Well, you killed my category. Thanks, Jerrod.
But real quick, we should say that this is your first. You said it's your first gallery show, but
yes.
So
M Squared Co is doing all of your print work and framing and everything and sending it over to Gallery 1988, right?
That's right. Did he pay you to mention that? Yes.
No, but we will bill him.
He messaged each one of us individually and asked that we mention it. So
it helps that he's down south. He did all the printing. He did the mats. We did some character cutouts that are going to be around the gallery for the show. He got that done. It was really, I mean, that is the only reason I'm doing that stupid podcast, that I am friends with him, so that I can get this stuff taken care of for me.
Absolutely.
And avoid shipping to the gallery.
That guy is a doer, though. I mean, he gets stuff done. Yeah,
I know. So, his muscles are big. What?
He's got big muscles.
He hand delivered all that stuff to my house so I could sign the prints, and then we got the mats and the prints together and put them in the frame.
Isn't it like a 4-hour drive?
Well, no, it's a 6-hour drive from LA.
Isn't that like a 6-hour drive?
That's right.
He had a longer lunch break that day. It's fine.
So we put them in the mat, and all of the mats are just a fraction of an inch too big. Oh. So we have to go through and like trim he did. I don't know why I say we, but he went through and trimmed every single mat down so that it fit in. It took much longer than we thought. But he's been a trooper.
Well, you know what,
though?
Great. That's congratulations to Squared Co. First of all, he's awesome anyway. Mark is awesome anyway. But
yes.
To be working with such a forward-facing gallery on this show, that's a huge deal too, you know? So congratulations to you, Mark, if you're listening. You probably aren't. You're tired of listening to us and Jerrod, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's so cool. I'm so glad that this is working out, and thanks for letting us see all the pieces ahead of time. I can't wait to see how the show rolls out. I can't wait to buy some things. And man, you're awesome as always. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the heck we're supposed to do with our master categories after this. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. Thank you, Luke, for letting me take over your category.
Oh, gladly. Anytime you want to do art and design, I will let you know I have it.
Okay.
Hey, tell everybody where they can find you before we
So on the socials, J Maruyama, Instagram, that's probably the best place to go, or jmaruyama.com is my website. You can find all the details there. The show opens Friday the 23rd, 7 to 9 at Gallery 1988. It'll be up through April 14th. The prints will go on sale usually the day after the opening. So
cool.
That's all the stuff.
All right, man.
That's all the stuff.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Well, good luck following that master category, Patrick.
Yeah, man.
Jerrod is way cooler than we are. Okay, so this week,
Nada.
I have been going through a bit of a dry spell.
Okay. They make cream for that.
I haven't been enjoying watching films, and it's been like, and I knew, it used to be something that I would watch, 2 or 3 in a night over the course of the week. I had some weeks where I'd watch 20 films, and it was just something that was my consistent escape.
Well, you were newly married, but it always slows down after.
It's amazing. So here's the thing: the idea of that you've watched 20 films in a week, which I totally believe, but there's so many movies you haven't seen. I don't know what you have watched.
He watched 20 terrible indie movies that were all shot in someone's basement.
Yeah, that's it. That's about right. So, anyway, that being said,
what a setup.
For a while, like I had fallen back down to like maybe I would get to one a week, and then it was maybe I would get to one every other week. I had stopped watching, them through like Netflix and stuff like that because I would just watch TV shows. Which most of these TV shows, most of these, I sound like an old man talking about it. A lot of the stuff, if you're watching Game of Thrones episodes or The Deuce or stuff like that, you're watching episodes that are as long as movies anyway.
Sure.
But I would find myself just doing that instead, or binging The Office or something like that, and I wasn't really watching films. And so it wasn't until just a few weeks ago that that spark kind of reignited. And so over the past where am I now? 1, 2, 3. So over the past since the year started, I've seen 35 films. But over half of those have been in the last like 3 weeks. And this week specifically, 2 that I ended up watching, because I think I've seen 6 so far, but 2 that I ended up watching were both mob movies, and they were both by mob films from Martin Scorsese, which is fitting because The Irishman is being the Irishman. I'm not sure how you say it like an Irish. I'm pretty sure it's not Irish.
All of the Irishmans.
All the Irishmans. The Irishman is in production right now. And in fact, it's his most expensive film that he's made. I don't know if you knew that. That was
Didn't know that.
A news story that came out this week. But it is very fitting because that movie is going to be releasing next year. And but he has a string throughout his career of doing films about, centered around the mob. And
organized crime.
Organized crime, yes. And so the two I got to watch this week were Casino and Goodfellas. Now, Casino I had not seen before. And I'll go and say it's like a 3-hour long movie. It's a pretty big commitment. I didn't realize it's 3 hours long when it started. But great film. It is something that you have to kind of be in the place to want to watch something like that. Now I will say this: the performance by Sharon Stone, who played Robert De Niro's wife for the film. It is like she's incredible in the film, and of course, De Niro's always very captivating.
Pesci,
yeah, as well. So he plays Nicky.
Yeah, and, man, so good.
Yeah, it's a fun film to watch. But of all of the films I've seen, of all the mob movies, and especially of all the ones I've seen from Scorsese, I had to say that Goodfellas. Now, this is the second time I've seen it. I've seen it once before, but to be honest, I saw it a decade ago, and it just I don't know if I wasn't paying attention during the film or what, but seeing it again over the weekend is just really it hooked me as being a great film. Now it's a lot of the same players. I mean, it is still De Niro, it's still Pesci. Now the main character, the Henry Hill is the main character, is played by Ray Liotta. But so in comparing and contrasting these. Casino is, I'm trying to think of a great way to put this. It's a little bit more slowly played out.
Yep.
And it's a bit more, it is dealing with a very specific arc. And the arc has to do with this person being given control of the casino, managing the casino. It's kind of the rise and the fall of the industry around this casino. And so because of that, it's a bit more singularly focused. I mean, certainly you still have different players that are involved. But it feels a bit more slowly paced, and again, it feels a bit narrower as far as subject matter. However, Goodfellas, for anybody that hasn't seen it, Goodfellas, the idea there, and it is based on a book, but the idea behind the movie was to do two things. One is to show the organized crime life, but even the mundane parts, to try to show lots of different pieces of kind of where they had their hands and the different ways they operated, even if but especially from the point of day to day. So as opposed to tracking this one grand event, they're instead trying to look at a lot of smaller, more mundane events.
Sure.
The second thing is that Martin Scorsese, when he set out to both film and cut this film, he wanted it to play like a film trailer for the entire run of the film. It's a 2.5-hour film that he wanted it to feel that quick the whole time. And all the cuts and all the movement, all the whatever, he wanted it to play like a 2.5-hour long movie trailer. And so because of that, especially at the time this film came out, it was an explosive film for just the pacing, the movement, everything like that, while also dealing with, again, these kind of day-to-day, more mundane actions. One other piece I think is really cool if you set out to watch this film and you haven't, or if you're rewatching it, there's several times in the film where they use freeze frames, where a piece of action will take place, and then in the middle of the action, suddenly it'll stop, and there'll still be music that continues or dialogue that continues or something, but the film itself will freeze. Each time that happened, that is meant to represent a moment in Henry Hill's life when it's a milestone for his life. So it could be a perception change, it could be a lesson learned, it could be whatever. But whenever anything like that happens, that is a milestone, and it is a very important moment in the main character's life. I did not know that when I watched the film. I learned about that after I watched the film, which now already makes me want to go back and watch it again with that context. So,
sure.
Very enjoyable film, very fast-paced. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of characters to keep track of in the film. It is easy to get lost. By the time you get to the end of the movie, I had forgotten, wait, which guy was Bats? Who was he? And it's a bit more difficult because it is moving so quickly. But I do highly, highly recommend the film. So I don't know how The Irishman's going to do. Given the track record that Scorsese has, I'm sure it's going to be incredible and amazing and all that kind of stuff. And he's working with a lot of the same players and plus some people I really, really enjoy, like, for instance, Jesse Plemons. But if you haven't seen Goodfellas and you're interested in those type of films, I cannot recommend it strongly enough. And if you're a history person, if things being true to history matter to you, you're going to love it even more, because if you go read the players that were involved and the players that this film is modeled after, it follows them nearly in parallel. It's incredibly close. And so all of that just adds to this overall experience. So great film. Have either of y'all seen Casino or Goodfellas?
Oh, yeah. I've seen both.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I've seen Casino. If I have, it's been a while, but Goodfellas, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Casino's still enjoyable, but I just didn't care for the main character. I can't remember the main character's name right now. Because, hold on. I want to tell you the main character's name. So, it's De Niro. Ace. That's what it is. They call him Ace. Sam Ace Rothstein. Mm-hmm. I didn't care for Ace the way I cared for, Henry. Sure. In Goodfellas. So I still enjoy the characters and it's fun to watch them, and certainly someone like De Niro has an incredibly captivating presence, and Pesci is just he's the right amount of kind of dodgy in both films.
Yeah.
But I would say that as far as being invested in a character and really wanting to see it through, Goodfellas, and especially the Henry being the main character, Ray Liotta, absolutely wrapped up in his story. So
cool.
Yeah, great film. Andrew, that just leaves you.
All right, let's round the bases on this whole episode. So I have toys and games, and I'll make this pretty quick. This is a game I've been recently, besides listening to books and just generally living in a state of panic about life in general. Okay. I have been perusing Kickstarter like a champ. And I've backed several games on Kickstarter. This one is one that I'm particularly excited about. I'm not going to go into all the other games I've backed since last week. But this one, because those are already done and you can't get them right now. This game is still active. By the time this episode airs, you'll still have 3 or 4 days to go and back it. And I would urge you to do so because it looks like a ton of fun. So this game is a game called Deadwood 1876.
Yeah.
A safe robbing game of teamwork and betrayal. It's a 2 to 9 player game, which is
awesome.
There in and of itself finds its place in a very, very, very slim genre of game, because typically games that allow you to get up to 9 or 10 players have a minimum play of 4 or 5 players, or if you can play with 2 players, it goes up to 4 or 5. This one is one that bridges that gap, and so for that alone, I'm intrigued, right? So, yeah. But beyond that, it's themed incredibly well. So it takes place in 1876. Deadwood is a place in the Black Hills of South Dakota where you can come and find. You can make your wealth by old-fashioned shootouts, by creating industry, by playing poker games and winning or stealing your share of the gold, essentially. And so it's a unique gameplay in which you play as a team to work together on things, but ultimately there still can only be one winner. So you can deceive people and you can take advantage of people, and if you play too nice, then you ultimately don't win. But you're supposed to play along with people. But the packaging on this game is really great. It looks like a book, an old book that would be on your shelf with the pages that are weathered. Are you both looking at it right now?
I backed it. I already backed it this week. You backed it? Early.
Awesome. And but it's literally just the size of a book, and all the components fit inside.
What? It's magnetic. The box is magnetic.
Right. So it opens up like a book and it's magnetic. So there's no like little buttons or snaps or Velcro, or it just looks and functions like a book, which I'm on board with because it automatically fits the time and place of the theme of the game. There are various locations, whether it's the saloon, the Grand Central Hotel, or the theater, and those are indicated by tokens that are really, really well done tokens. Not unlike these tokens, our Master of One tokens, but they're wood engraved, so like our original tokens. They have custom die that are associated with it. And so essentially the way that the game functions is you, in Deadwood, you'll use cards from your hand to try to win safes from other players. Those safes on the front of the card is a safe. On the back side of the card, and you flip it over, you'll either have badges, gold, or showdown guns. Every gun has a certain value based on how powerful that gun would be. Everything from the pepper box, which is the tiny little gun, to like the like the Colt,
the Messenger,
which is like a mid-range gun or a double barrel shotgun.
Yeah.
And each one of those corresponds with a particular die, and each die, depending on the color and what gun it's associated with, has a certain number of pips that would increase or decrease the value of that gun. So like on the pepper box, which is the tiny little, purse gun, there are some sides of the die that have 0. They don't have anything on it. So you kind of run the risk of that, but you go toe to toe, you go to showdowns. At the end of the game, it's essentially the person who's still alive is the winner, and they have accrued the most gold, and the most extras and all these different things. The artwork is beautiful. They're already hitting a ton of stretch goals. You don't have to worry. This game is getting made. It had a goal of $25,000. It's now sitting at just below $350,000. So this game is getting made. You don't have to worry about that. It just looks beautiful. And on top of all of that stuff, so it's got a lot going for it. The gameplay is great. The artwork is great. The packaging is great. Everything just looks fun, and unique and cool. But on top of all of that, it's really affordable. The game is only $23.
Yep.
So that's amazing. That's a great entry point, especially when you look at a lot of these games on Kickstarter. The more elaborate they are, obviously the higher the price goes. These days, $40 for a board game is pretty typical, pretty standard, and pretty affordable. When you see anything below the $30 mark, snatch it up. If the gameplay looks good, this one absolutely looks like it's going to be worth the money.
If you see anything below the $30 mark, it's a card game.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically, yeah. I mean, this one is a card game. Technically,
but I meant like a deck of cards. The fact that it's like the box and the tokens and the bag and the die and all of that. That's
absolutely. And here's what makes it even one step better, in my opinion. This is the third in a series of games that are from this game company that look. The gameplay is different than the other ones, but as far as packaging, there's a game called Tortuga, and there's a game that I just lost the name of in my head.
Salem.
Yeah, Salem. One of them takes place in Massachusetts around the Salem witch trials, and it's a secret identity game where you have to try to identify who the witch is, and the witch can move, and it looks super fun, like a fun party game. But it's also in like an incantation witches brew notebook that looks much like the Deadwood game, and then the Tortuga, which is a pirate themed game. But it looks these games are highly reviewed. People enjoy them.
Yeah.
They seem like a low barrier of entry in terms of the skill level required to take it up, but you could totally get strategic and have fun with it. And they just look beautiful. So Deadwood 1876, go back it right now. I don't think you'll regret it. And when it comes out, we'll all play it and talk about it together on the Slack channel because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's it for my master category, which I think means that's it for this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a ton of stuff coming up that you want to be a part of. If you are going to be in the Baton Rouge area, come to Crop. We will be at Crop. There's a few tickets left. If you're watching this or listening to this on release day, you're going to want to get them now. Get your tickets now. Because they're running out and they will sell out.
Yeah.
The week after that, we will be at Creative South in Georgia. where we will have a blasty blast hosting a workshop. And the workshop, Patrick, is it's limited, right?
Right.
Like it's only so many spots.
Yeah, I mean, there's 25 spots. That's it. That's the number, and we've already sold a lot of them. So, and it is limited for two reasons. One, because we want to be able to have. We want to be able to answer some very specific questions to the people that are in there. So
it's called Podcasting with Dummies. We should say that.
Yeah,
We're
it's
the
called
dummies.
Podcasting with Dummies. We're the dummies, not you. And but we want to be able to address like specifically where people are at in the room, as opposed to it being too broad. So we want to keep it limited. The second thing is we have some special gifts. We have some giveaways, and so the other thing is we only have so many of those items. So we want to keep the number down. Make it more personal for the people that are there, and then also be able to give you some cool stuff. So there's only 25 spots, and again, I haven't checked the number. The last I checked, it was end of last week, but the majority of those have been sold. So
yeah,
if you want to get a spot, go ahead and buy it now. Now you could buy a spot and not go to the conference. You could just only come to the workshop.
Yep.
But why would you do that? The conference is going to be a blast.
It's going to be so much fun.
Pick up your two tickets.
The speaker lineup this year is going to be so fun, and we're going to be podcasting live.
Or tell your boss to buy your tickets. That's easy.
Yeah.
Just tell your boss to buy your tickets, and come check it out for real. So.
Yeah. CreativeSouth.com or CropBR.com. Those are the two places you can go to register for those two events. Information will be on our website as well. Stay tuned to our social media for updates and things about that. We have some new swag that I'm really excited about that we've been working on for these events. And if you're there, you'll be able to get your hands on it. We might put some of that up for sale afterwards if there's stuff left over. We're doing something new and unique. I just like trying new things with the stuff that we put together. So I'm excited. It was an idea we had when we were at Disney, and just like, hey, let's try to make that happen. And lo and behold, we did. So that'll be exciting. Find all the stuff, the links and things that we talked about in the show notes below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're on our website, go to mf1podcast.com for those links. Social media, MF1 Podcast. Support the show on Patreon.com/MF1 Podcast. Rate and review, all of the things. We're going to get out of this episode for now, though, because I think we've talked at you enough. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Luke.
For Jerrod Maruyama, peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butts.